Next up, it's the epic quest for the pink jersey as we join the riders in the marathon they call the Giro.
Well, I hope you heard that on your television sets back at home. This is a picture then of young Garcia on the ground, Freddie Garcia. He was brought down on the climb up the first mountain today by this man, Casagrande. Now, Casagrande denied it, but many of the riders saw it, and in fact, many of them were chanting, "A casa, a casa, a casa." In other words, go home, go home, go home. And certainly Cipollini was very outspoken at the end of it all, and Casagrande, in the end, the judges sent him home. This man also had his problems. We now got the Fassa Bartolo from Belli, because Belli is retired from the race today. That joins in with Bartoli, who's also gone from the Fassa Bartolo team, who crashed and badly hurt his pelvis and will be out for an awful long time. So not a good time. And I think we're looking back at Pataki now, who's also come off too. So there's lots of people from the Fassa Bartolo team who have not had a very good time. And we're picking up here the pictures from the last tour when Belli put a bunch of fives onto one of the supporters of Simone, who was saying rather naughty things about his parentage, and so he got eliminated too as well. So Frigo, who had the pink jersey last year, was slung off the race when the police raided the riders' hotels. He's still in the race, by the way, but loads of others have fallen by the wayside. So Hepner at the moment is in the pink jersey on what is going to be a cracking day's racing up in the Dolomites. And we're looking at the overall standings for you there, just to show Hepner still in the lead at 48 seconds. Hamilton back in third, Frigo in fourth. You can see all that on your screen. And Escartin has now come up into the little pink bar too, because that's a man, says he, tapping the side of his nose. Today might well move back up in the top three, but stay with us to see the action coming up. Well, we've got the breakaway group at the moment, and they've been away for an awful long time now, but in reality, you see the gap was 2 minutes and 38 seconds, but a lot of the happenings have been with retirements. We'll put you up on date in just a moment, as we're now picking up the riders who are in that breakaway group at the moment. They're all coming over thick and fast. You have to ride quickly. Right, I think we've got them for you now, and they're going well ahead of schedule, by the way, and they're now beginning to move up and pick up our breakaway group who have set the scene on the race today. And you can see now where they're coming up toward the Passo de no, the one before that, my mistake, up towards the Passo de Fedea, and this is a 13.7 kilometre climb. The maximum is 18%. We've been over one climb already today, but that only sort of shook out some of the no-hopers and started to form the bus at the back for the big sprinters, and then down into the valley, then on towards this particular climb here. That first climb coming after 83 kilometre racing, leaving 80 to go. So imagine 50 miles of activity, and the start this morning was an awful long drag up towards that first climb of the Forcella Stalanza, and the situation with that breakaway group, I don't think it's going to cause much trouble for the main group here, which contains all the top stars. So you're going to see here live on Eurosport what is going to be a fascinating stage, because as we said in the early part of our program, we've lost the big climber himself in the green jersey, the man leading on the Kingdom Managed competition. Casagrande was sent home after felling the Colombian. When I say felling him, he actually ran into the back of him, or vice versa, blocked him, whatever it was. He brought him down, and various stories say between 11 and 30 stitches were inserted in the Colombian's face. He's a Colombian champion, and he'll take home with him memories, scarred memories of the Tour of Italy this year. So on his bike back home went Casagrande, having worn that green jersey, leading on the Kingdom Managed competition, but now he's gone home. There you can see on the screen here, this is the what's left of the main peloton. Hepner is at the bottom there in the pink jersey, and he knows he's going to be under a tremendous threat today. And Kessler just ahead of him as ever, playing a great team job. But if Hepner was really striving hard to keep his jersey, then I think he ought to be a bit nearer the front, so he could watch the moves as Perez, the little Mexican climber, sets a pace pace at front. And look at the jerseys, the blue ones with the red splodges on them. You can probably hardly read this one, but it's Alessio, the team that are leading on the overall team competition. They've got some useful climbers in there, and also possibly a man in the team that might, as we see them up down the road, they've already got one man down there who's having difficulty hanging on to our breakaway group. And there, De Poli, Morini and Engels coming up there. The gap then, you can see 2 minutes and 35 seconds back to the group containing the pink jersey. So the men up the front, and the Alessio team, as ever, trying to get the team award today. I think they might well do it. They've got some cracking riders in their squad, and so we'll have to watch how it unfolds before us. Well, one by one, those early breakaway riders are beginning to find life a bit tough. So we're just seeing De Poli here up on the front, and I'll try and pick out the rest of the riders who've been in there, because De Poli went away 2:35. So I'll give you a rundown on the riders in the break group. So at the back then, we can see that the Mexican Perez beginning to do the work, just pulling along the main peloton behind him. And there, Alessio again beginning to, I would say block, but sitting up there. That's Frigo on the left-hand side of the screen, now disappeared. So that's Gotti over the way by there for Alessio. There is Frigo. And there, look at this chap here without the hat on, and the rather strange spectacle makes him look like a fly. And that is a chap who could fly today. That is the Australian Cadel Evans, who's been a revelation on this race. We quite expected Hamilton, who did a great ride in the time trial, to be challenging for overall honours, but who would have thought that Cadel will be there following behind the greats then. So De Poli still pressing on here, as we'll pick up for you then the riders that were in that early breakaway group. Just see if anybody else you might like to pick out. We had the pink jersey at the back of this little group. So now we're going back up then to what's left of our breakaway group. So the breakaway group that had a lead of 2:38 when we came on air, now down to 2:35. In that breakaway group from the Psycho Longoni Sport team, number 2, Igor Astarola. He was in that group to begin with, and also his teammate in there too was Oscar Mason, number 3. And you probably see him coming backwards one at a time, by the way, as the field begins to split on this climb. In that breakaway group too as well, we had initially, now struggling somewhat, Bertolini from the Alessio team. In fact, they got 3 men up there, because with Bertolini also was De Poli. We've picked him up for you. He's surviving at the moment, but for how much longer, I wonder. As our camera's going back here to pick another man who was originally in the breakaway group. That's Francisco Terezo from the CSC Tuscany team. And so he's still there at the moment. And then also in that breakaway group we had Morini. We've seen his name come up on the screen too as well. And then back there too, in fact this is De Poli pressing on with it. In that breakaway group too we had number 35, and that's a Duma from the Panaria team, one of the only 4 surviving members of the Panaria team. And in the group too, Marin from the Colombian squad, specialist little climber too. Originally 2 in that breakaway group, Leon from the Kelme squad. Another Kelme rider with him too was Cayetana from the Kelme team. In that breakaway group too as well is number 97 Cadillac, and so on. So most of those lads splitting now, going back into the main field, having been away most of the day. Well, there's Hepner beginning to lose contact with the main contenders for his pink jersey today on this climb. They're all strung out here. Nice even pace at the front to pull back our breakaway group of riders who are coming back at them one by one, leaving only a handful out there at the moment. So really trying to pick up all those chaps in the breakaway. We can only really concentrate perhaps on those that are left from it, with Alessio there in the blue jerseys with the red and white stripes coming down, doing most of the damage. They had 3 men in that early breakaway group. They've still got Gotti back there too as well here, another of their teammates, so they're definitely going for it. There, Cadel Evans without the hat, just sitting in the wheels, looking very confident indeed, and typically a great mountain countryside, as you'll see here. And there's the chap with the flowing locks, also riding for Alessio. He's having an easy ride at the moment, Pelizzotti. I shouldn't say that when we consider what the conditions are like, but he let his teammates do the work down there. The yellow jersey just going through. That's Escartin, who's been just gently easing his way up the general classification, and just behind him we noticed the red and white jersey of the CSC Tiscali team, which includes Tyler Hamilton there. Just dancing out the side, looking very confident indeed. Number 91 was Pavel Tonkov. Just you saw his backside there and his number, past winner of this race. And up in the distance you'll probably see on the Dolomites the little pockets of snow. There was a bit of snow fell yesterday or last night, but it was only a little flurry right up on the very tops of the climbs, because they're going alongside some massive mountains, and we'll probably be able to put you in the picture about that as our camera does. So it's a whole new ball game for those who've been watching the tennis. This is the cracking day in the Tour of Italy, which should decide where the jersey goes at the end of it all. They're looking very confident. Is Tyler Hamilton. He almost had time, I think, to blink at us before we had a few technical problems. By the way, he's come over to live in Spain. Some years ago he moved in to stay up there in the same part of the world as Lance Armstrong, because that's the team he rode with, and now freed of the responsibility of looking after Lance Armstrong, he's now climbing up these hills, which he's been training on, by the way, in the early part of March, and then the mid-March too. He went away up to these climbs. Some of them he couldn't ride over, he had to go by car in the snow just to get the hang of them, to know, and he's therefore following in the technique that Lance Armstrong has done over the years by going out and reconnoitring some of these climbs, and the team also benefiting, or team management benefiting from an understanding of the climbs that will be used, because we don't always use the same climbs every year in the big tours, and it's often worthwhile going back and checking and then thinking about where they will be on the day's stage, because you might get a certain climb that's early in the stage or late in the stage that in the past has been ridden in the other way round, and also sometimes they come over the big climbs in a reverse direction, so you have to go out and give it an opportunity for the top men to rendezvous the climbs if they're going to be featuring in the top 10, say, on the general classification. Well, Hepner now has lost Kessler, I think it was towing him up the mountains, but I say towing, they can't exactly, of course, do much more than ride just ahead of you, and by doing that they can give you sort of psychological support as much as anything. And if the wind does blow down the mountains, not a bad day today by the way, it isn't too gusty, but if the wind does blow down the mountains, then your teammate can get in front of you and provide you with a little bit of shelter as you grovel your way up there. So at the moment then, a little bit of a breakaway and a burst here for the Alessio team, and quite fair tactics for Daniel De Poli, who's on our screen there, who's left what's left of the main breakaway group, and I can see here in penny numbers they're going to be, or should I say euro numbers, they're going to be, I think, absorbed bit by bit by this group behind, led still by Perez. So that's the situation as you see on the road now, and time to get one's breath back. By the way, I've got to make breath back. If you ever come out to these mountains, I don't know if you, of course skiers will know this because they come out skiing, but when you're skiing you're up there anyway, you just actually go at the top and you're skiing down and you don't much get out of breath anyway. I suppose skiing is a sport when you come down you do use a lot of effort in it, but when you go back up again, skiers just go and sit on one of those cable cars and up they go and come thundering down again. So, but the interesting thing is, if ever you get a chance to come out, maybe bring your mountain bike or any old bike will do, and actually ride the climbs. And to you skiers, by the way, if you get a chance to borrow maybe a mountain bike when you go out skiing at the top of the big mountain and go down to the bottom of the mountain, then ride back up again. And as you go up these very high mountains, the air gets very thin indeed, and you're gasping for breath. Now, these top riders are quite used to the strain that's being put on them, but if you strike yourself, as now Perez, the loose cannon of the Tour of Italy this year, fires off yet another round, and amazingly now, I'm not certain that's good tactics from Cadel Evans, the Australian, is bouncing after him. Now, if I was Cadel, I'd just watch for people like Frigo and the other wise heads, because if you're not careful, you see, I don't think that we get up to Perez. Perez is not the sort of chap to ride with. Perez is a man who has infrequent attacks, or frequent attacks, and drifts backwards and forwards, and he's not maintaining rhythm. And the one thing on a climb like this, particularly say going up where the air is thin, is to maintain the rhythm, breathe in, calculate the risk, just take it in very steadily, very steadily, very steadily. If you rip away at it, you start breathing deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's nothing left in the barrel. Right. Or left in the tank. This is what's left, by the way, of the main group. Right at the back in the yellow jersey, Escartin, dodging on behind one of the Calme riders, and I'm looking for Pelazzotti. He seems also to be drifting off a bit. The man on the right hand side there, 171, is Frigo, and he's really now watch how he rides. Watch Frigo coming up behind the motorcycle in front. He's just moving himself forward. He wants to keep within a certain distance. Oh, well, there he goes, with Tonkov right behind him in the sort of similar coloured jersey he's got as well. We're nearly 2 kilometres to go toward the top of this climb, the Passo di Fadeo. When they get to the top, they'll have 46 kilometres to go. They will have climbed on the way up here 13.7 kilometres. So that's something like about 7, 8 miles of climbing. Yes, nearly 8 miles of climbing. And today, are you sitting down comfortably? Right, in for a shock? Just imagine, they will have covered just the uphill bits counting toward the King of the Mountains, not the long drag we had this morning to get here. 46 kilometres of climbing. That is nearly 30 miles of climbing today. What you're seeing here on your screen, they will have done 30 miles of that, of the stage today, which is 102 miles. Now, there's a long drag this morning, which started the proceedings, and that, again, was about 20 miles, I suppose. So in reality, they will have covered half the distance will have been going up, and, of course, half the distance will be going down. But the downs, you can't take much advantage. You just go down as fast as you can. Some chaps are demon descenders, but generally speaking, this is really going to be a day for the mountain goats, or the specialists at the tours who know how to ride the wheels and just stay close to each other for the general classification. Unfortunately, already today that we have lost Pantani. We saw him climbing off a bit earlier on. I'm sorry you didn't see it. We may perhaps later on record Pantani, who just came to a grinding halt. He's been suffering with bronchitis, as was Belly, who retired this morning from the race. And so although Pantani had soldiered on and on and on, and was hoping to probably try and get a stage victory, and tomorrow might have been a useful stage for him, he couldn't make it. Now, otherwise, look down this here, that the little list of Perez's success. Absolutely surprised everybody when he took his first stage in the Tour of Italy last year, but now he's having another go. He's already won one stage in this race, but the chap in the multicoloured outfit for Mappe, Cadel Evans, is really surprising a lot of people. And there, Frigo looking very careful. These are the two chaps to watch, by the way. Frigo and the man behind him for the Lampre-Daikin team in the green and the pink. Tonkov, very, very experienced riders, both those two. Also the chap in the yellow back there behind, I think it's Gotti's following, who's won this tour a couple of times. So you're watching now the riders who know what it's like to suffer, and my goodness, they're going to suffer yet, because once we get over this one, we've still got 2 cracking climbs lying ahead of them. Well, just further back down here, it looks, I think that's Cioni or Noe. We'll have to wait till our cameras go down again. Mappe's still got another rider in back there, and Hamilton not going too well at the moment. He's just there, you can see on your screen, Tyler Hamilton, who's been training on this course, and really he did so well in the time trial. But here, further back down, this is Nardello from the Mappe team. National champion there. You can see 24 victories as a pro, and the main one source of that stage victory in the Tour de France. So Nardello having a bit of a struggle at the moment. Hamilton looking very, in fact he's got Pelazzotti with him. You see this little twosome group or threesome group coming up here. Well, that Hamilton was in there being led by one of his teammates, and I think that was Carlos Sastre that was with him at the time. Carl Hamilton wears 204 on his back. Sastre, a very good climber indeed. I think he's doing the work at the moment with just sitting in on the wheels. Hamilton just pacing himself. Hamilton, a damn good descender, by the way, so he can probably get back on the descent. Many of the chaps we see here struggling to the top of the climb may well come back together on the descent before they start the next piece of action on the climbs today, and they really do go up and down, believe you me, and there's just no rest for the wicked at all. Off the top of this one, there's a bit of a false flat at the top. When they get over the top, it goes on for about a kilometre and a bit before we dive down into the valley to a place called Canazai, where the Intergiro will take place. So they go down that, and then as soon as they get to the Intergiro, they just turn and go up the next climb, and they're going over the Passaporto, which is 2,239 metres above sea level. And when you bear in mind, they start out this morning 75 metres above sea level, they've already been over the Forcella Stolanza, 1,773 metres above sea level. They've been over the top of the little tiny Colle de San Lucia, which wasn't even put in the King of the Mountains competition, but that's having dropped down the valley, took them up again 1,530 metres, and now this one 2,057 metres, and it looks as if Scartin is now grovelling to find the lowest possible gear he's got. So I think he's under pressure as well. Frigo then breathing in that very thin air just at the front here, and what's happened to Tomkov, who was on his wheel just a moment ago. What a great race. It's happening all over the place. There Pelazzotti here with the flowing locks. Looks like an advertisement for I suppose a groupie from the 1970s, but no, that's his hairstyle and that's what he likes. And in fact now it looks as if yes, Hamilton's got up to him. Pelazzotti has taken the toe up as well, and they're beginning to regroup here with most of the top brass further on down the road. So it's a real war of attrition almost, with them being dropped off the back, but I think they'll start coming back together again as we get further down off the top of this climb. But this is the moment. Concentrate, concentrate. And the crowd out as ever. The Tifosi, this is their race, the Italians, they love it, but what a race we've had so far. I'll try and fill you in when they start going down the other side about many things that have gone on, including, if you've just turned on, not caught up with information, Casagrande being thrown off the race for bringing down Freddy Garcia, the Colombian national champion, yesterday. So he's out the race, so the green jersey has now gone off the shoulders of Casagrande and being passed on to Castelblanco, who's been battling for that jersey. There we go, back down again. Phew, what a day. Perez still on the front, and I think he's reeled in one of the other lads from the Alessio team, and one of the early breakaways still struggling a bit. It's a terrible way. See, this is the Rabobank team car that'll have to be pulled over, because that was up with the league group originally, number 13 on the back, unlucky for some, and they're going to pull the team cars out of the way now. You see this chap in the reddish coloured jersey, reddish coloured car, that's the chief commissaire, who's saying get the cars out of the way, because those cars were following the riders in that early break. And look how this chap climbs. Just looks like he's going out down his bike on a Sunday morning to go and get the papers, or just go out for a little leisurely ride with his club mates. Oh dear, no, this is murderous stuff. There we are. So Perez is now trying to climb up on De Poli, who's belting away here. This is where the Italians, see, you can't train on these sort of territories if you're brought up in Great Britain and places like that. Even the Dutchman, we just saw one of the Dutch lads being pulled back again here. You can't really get the opportunity to train on these conditions, but riders do go out and have a look at the course. Some of them who intend to do well in the big tours. But of course the other big thing is riding up these mountains when you're training, compared with riding with this great crowd of people out. They're just wall of sound. So I'll shut up and you listen to this. Isn't that great? The noise bouncing off the stonework on the side of this road. The people have been out here overnight in freezing conditions to watch their stars come through. It's not quite as warm as we get, say, on the Tour de France, but look at them here on the side of the road. It's free, by the way. I mean, this is one of the greatest outdoor sports in the world, where the people can just come out, camp out, and wait for the stars to come through. Some of them have come up here on their bicycles. You can see them on the side of the road there, because very often they close the roads to stop the traffic getting up before the race comes through, and the one way to do it is either walk up, and that's 13 kilometres, or get on your bike. So Perez looking to get toward the top and get some more points in the King of the Mountains competition, but can he catch De Poli? In the King of the Mountains competition, Perez is a late starter towards the points. He's now got 15 points. Castelblanco has 27, but Castelblanco is struggling. We just heard, by the way, we lost yet another rider, 193, Coglioni from the Colpack team has given up, so we lost yet another rider today. In addition then, to the loss of Pantani out of the race. Casagrande slung off the race last night. Numbers coming down left, right and centre for various reasons. We're probably less than 150 riders left of the 198 that started just over 2 weeks ago. Perez hasn't made it yet up to De Poli. He's got to get second spot though on this mountain climb. In the King Mountains competition, this is a first category climb. So coming over headphones, the time back, 21 seconds for Perez, and you can see on your clock here how it's going for the rest of the riders coming up. We'll just get confirmation from what we see. 44 seconds. Morini at 44 seconds. I'm waiting for more information just to confirm this is a lot coming through. It looks like Frigo just ahead there, and a galaxy of talent, and what an amazing sight then to see Cadel Evans staying up there with that group of riders. Also in there from the Rabobank team, that looked like Eddie Engels from the Netherlands, who's managed to get up there over the top. Eddie, I think, will be quite a useful descender. He was one of the riders in that original breakaway group that at one time, as we came on air, we had a lead of about 2 minutes and 38 seconds. This again coming up here at the moment, Nardello wearing the Italian National Championship jersey, so the Italian are very pleased with that one to go down the other side. This is where, oh, in fact, we didn't see it at that particular point, but as the hand came out, they were going to give them, very often they're giving up a piece of plastic to shove up their front, or a newspaper to make sure that they don't get chilly on the descent down. So here we go down the other side as the riders now will begin to regroup just a little bit. The Colombian coming up here to try and get a few points. In fact, all the points on the Kingdom Mountains competition will have gone now, so an effort I think was wasted, because he's got a chance of getting back into that main group at the moment, but still no points at this particular section of the coast. Quite a number of riders here have, I think, just timed it rather nicely. They should get back again, and so most of that pack you just saw here, by the time we get down the other side of the descent, I like to find themselves regrouping. Big drop down then, and as they go down here, something like, says he doing a quick check, they've got about 10 kilometres of going down. It's about 6 miles, and here, and I've forgotten to press my watch, because this is the man we're interested in, the pink jersey of Hepner coming over the top here, and that slap on the wrist for David. So many things going on at the moment, I forgot to press my watch because they haven't put it up there on the screen, but I'll wait for it to come over on our Radio Corsa. So Salvadelli there, Evans there in that group. So, well, we're going to take a short break. So Chioni's also in that group with Evans. So let's hope we can get a time check on Hepner. I think he should get back up to the group chasing after Perez as he catches De Poli, our early breakaway rider. Well, spread all over the mountain here like the early fall of snow, just dropping a little white flakes across the mountainside, but this lot are moving quickly down to the bottom, and they won't melt. They'll gather back together again for the next climb up the other side. And the information has been coming in thick and fast about the groups that are being reformed at the top. But the major news is that over the top of that climb, when Perez went through, after that, and De Poli first, well, Perez has now joined up with De Poli, but the gap back between De Poli, who's here just chasing after Perez in the orange, was 1 minute of just over a minute to a group containing, or just under a minute to a group containing Frigo. But the big information was that Hamilton was 2 minutes 30 seconds down, and the group containing the pink jersey of Hepner was 3 minutes down. That's on De Poli. and it was roughly about 40 seconds back to Frigo et al. So Hamilton at the moment is losing about a couple of minutes on Frigo, and the pink jersey has already now gone off the back of Hepner if he just stays like this at the end of the race. But they're going to regroup, I think. There's a great big drop down of some 10 kilometres down into the valley where they'll have the Giro, a competition which has been really the forte of the sprinters so far, and the jersey on the shoulders of the rider from the Phonak squad. And so far as Phonak's concerned, they'll be happy, I think, to keep this one, because Strazzo went through there with a lead overall this morning of 1 minute and 55 seconds on Guidi, who's also a sprinter, so he won't have a catch chance in hell of closing the gap today. And Kalilov was at 3 minutes 45. Pataki, another sprinter at 4 minutes and 6 seconds, and Hamilton at 4:15. So it's highly probable that perhaps that if Hamilton could get through this little lot, he could have a go at the Giro, but I think he's got more fish to fry than that one. Not as many fish in this part of the world, except further on down, where the raging torrents of the river will allow the fish to enjoy themselves. But not up here, it's just so blooming cold, and of course we're watching it now when the snow has gone of these amazing Dolomites. More of that anon as we begin to keep our eye on this lot regrouping. Let's hope nobody falls up, but what a tour we've had as they come down here. If you've just switched on, Pantani's retired today, Casagrande did not start the day because he was suspended from the race after yesterday when he caused that crash and brought down Freddie. So it's really thinned down the people expected to be up there on the podium at the end. And so we're now starting to try and pick up who the heck will be first, second and third on this coming Sunday. This is said to be the day when the pink jersey will be decided, but a lot of people said, oh no, wait till tomorrow, because we've got a mountaintop finish tomorrow, and there's going to be some very, very tired and sore legs indeed for the stage tomorrow. But I suppose looking back at the Tour of Italy this year, if you're just watching it and you're a tennis fan and you say, well, I watch these lads up there in the mountains because it's gorgeous countryside, and certainly it's worth when the cameras go up to see just how gorgeous. The word gorge, by the way, I'm sorry, I'm not putting a pun in there, gorgeous. As we look back down here, the gorgeous conditions we've got up here, the whole race is for the pink jersey. Hepner's surprised everybody, the German, by keeping it all the way through to here, when Garzelli, who had the leader's jersey, was taken out the race because he failed, or has his first what they call non-negative. They took him off the race because he has already failed a drug test, and they're going to have a second opinion on that one later on. But it was what they call a masking agent, and a lot of saying, well, how the hell would he use it? It was so small indeed anyway. So that one raged and raved, but he was out the race. And then we heard other riders go out the race through crashes, and then Simone was thrown off the race too as well because he'd been to the dentist, he says, and traces of cocaine were in his system for a race a bit further. So we've been losing riders for various sorts of reasons, and I suppose that possibly if there's somebody out there interested in doing a tragic opera, this has got to be one of the tragic operas for cycling, and we might get Mr. Pavarotti, I suppose, to sing. And I have been playing my tapes. I brought Pavarotti with me because I like listening to him singing, and some of the sad songs he sings from the operas, certainly this tour of Italy this year. Whoops! Thank you very much indeed. I was looking for a drink. If he was probably a slip fielder for a cricket game, our cameraman might probably got that now in his hot little hand, but somehow I think he just ducked and bounced over his shoulder. So, well, maybe it's actually an Italian soap opera, the things have been going on, because it almost, as we go each day from one to another, a bit like, you know, when they finish off the soap opera, for those who watch these things, they sort of, at the very end of the programme, bang, it stops, and then there's great drama there, and you have to wait the next day. Well, it's been a bit like that on the Tour of Italy. We've had very few days when there's not been a bit of drama either at the end of it or overnight before we started next day. So this is the Italian soap opera on two wheels. I'm David Duffield from Eurosport, hoping you're enjoying the cycling if you've not seen much of it before. Just marvel at the fitness of these riders, the way they're going on their bicycles after we've been racing now. The stage today, the 16th stage of the race, so they've probably done nearly 1,500 miles. Yes, that's true, they're averaging 100 miles a day, and it's not all flat, as you can see here as well. So a great physical performance by these riders, and a great ride by this man too, Hepner. 37 years of it. Yes, you couch potatoes and you late 30-year-olds who by now think sport is something you put your feet up in front of the telly and it's getting the wife to go out and get yourself a bag of chips and a tin of beer or something. So anybody in their late 30s, just imagine this man Hepner here having the ride of his life, and certainly he has made this race come alive, because who would have expected that? Who would have expected some of the performance had so far? So this race is still wide open, and we've got some way to go before we go over these next thumping great climb before we finish up the top of the big climb at Corva in Badia.
The Giro live.
2 leaders are 45 seconds ahead of a regroupment going on now, as the field coming over the top of that climb of the Passo de Fedaya. That was after 117 kilometres of racing. Now they've got 35 kilometres to go. Normally on a flattish day they say, okay, we can breathe in now, it's all over and done with, and we just maybe have a little bit of climb towards the end. But my goodness, it really goes up and down and up and down and up and down from now on in. So there's a little bit of a breathing space for them over the top of the climb here before they start the big ones yet to come. So a very tough day in the sun. I think these two chaps are about having their nosh, and who can blame them, will shortly be caught by the main group. I say 45 seconds was the time we had of the last time check at this particular point. So with Pauli there at the back, who'd been up there in the breakaway group, about 20 riders early on, just taking a rest on the wheel of Perez, and they'll then have a little bit of a rest before they start the next climb. This bit down here is a place called Canazai, and then they'll start to go up toward the top of the Passa Pordoi, which is for it's called the Kima Coppi, and that's a special prize in memory of the great Fausto Coppi. That one lies ahead. What a great day it is too, that the sun has come out now, and we've got a good day for bike racing. It could have been so nasty if the weather had continued to be as it was yesterday, when we had that splash in towards the finish, and so we had a pretty grotty day yesterday. But certainly today, not a bad day at all for anything, and particularly riding a bicycle, as we now see the pink jersey getting himself back up there into the main group. Right, if you haven't caught up with the overall classification, then it's time, I think, for me to just put you in the picture before we start this next climb, because this could be, won't say the decisive one, but it should be setting the scene by making the legs very tired of the overall leader on the general classification. Oh, yet again, this is Mr. Lungi, I think, nipping off down the road, being marked out then by Nardello, who's got himself back. Let's just wait before I put you in the picture on the classification here, just to see if anybody's going to react to it. Doesn't look as if they have. So we've now gone through the Intergiro with Perez getting first and Poli getting second. Now that's over and done with. The main pack will get them time through there in just a moment. So look what's going on here. Well, they're certainly all doing a big regrouping rather than anything else. .156 they've got there. Marini's now being given the third spot going through the Intergiro. And here they start to go up again. So not bad then for the lads from the Alessio team, because they've got De Poli and Perez, but they reverse the order going through the Intergiro, and in third spot was Morini, also from the Alessio team, who are battling it out now with Mappe, I think, for the team. There we are, that's the Intergiro. They've just staggered their way through that one, and the rest of the field who are strung out. And in fact, we're running, I think, a bit ahead of schedule, because seems to be most of the people standing their lunch and got caught. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, isn't it? But still, and so going through the Intergiro, looking at the time we've got here, Yes, at 12 minutes past 4, they would have gone through at 33 kilometres an hour. In fact, yes, they're getting somewhere nearer towards 35 kilometres an hour for the stage today, the average so far. So it's pretty quick going they've had so far. Let's say 33 to be more precise, and that's pretty good going on the day like today. It's about 20 miles an hour by an average speed, and as I said to you earlier on, this course today, 46 kilometres of climbing. That's nearly 30 miles in all of the serious stuff that's actually measured for the King of the Mountains. But you can see this sort of caricature almost of the graphics showing you the Dolomites there on the right-hand side of your screen, and nice and bright and shiny, aren't they, up there? But it's a most amazing stretch actually. It's called the Dolomites after the French geologist, a fellow called Gratte du Dolomio. He was looking at this range of mountains a long way back, sometime around about the 18th century, I think it was, and there's some volcanic rock in certain parts but otherwise they've got rather unusual limestone rocks that stick out, and he was the one who found it and had a good look at it. And can you imagine all those years ago going across with your little axe and chopping out bits of the stone and checking out to see what the heck it was. And that's why as you look here at these amazing mountains, that because of the difference between volcanic rock and the other types of limestone rock here, it's the way in which over the years the rains that came down, the days of the Ice Age and so on, made most unusual shapes here, like towers and belfries and domes and all sorts of things. So it certainly is a very interesting countryside, but a really tough one to ride a bike.
The Giro live with Sidi.
Well, we're back then with the stage 16 of the Tour of Italy, and for the tennis fans here, we're going to have a split screen now to see the results of a match just taking place in Paris. And the riders here, fortunately, on a sort of, I would say, leisurely ride up the climb, but they are taking a bit of a breather. Still two riders down the road, Perez and De Poli, and they went through about 45 seconds at the Intergiro ahead of Morini, and then the rest were a couple of minutes back. But let's see how they go on there as we look at the tennis tour on the split screen then. So this is the Clave and Grosjean competition coming up here on your screen, and the scores having been 7-6, 7-6, 3-6, then serving for the match here. And there it goes then. It was originally 6-3, Clave and Grosjean. So we're coming back then after that match then, on to live cycling as they climb up toward the top of the Passo Pordoi. Well, still on the climb up to Passo Pordoi, and Alessio looking very much in charge of the main pack for the team award, but who's going to win today? Now this the CSC Tescali team who've got en bloc towards the front of the main pack, and really they took a bit of pasting on the last climb we went over, the Passo di Fadai. After 13.7 kilometres of climbing, it went a maximum of 18%, and dropping down the other side into Canazai for the Intergiro, it was little Perez, who we've just seen on your screen there, who managed to get across into first spot, and followed behind him was De Paoli, and then Morin bring up third spot, and Longhi just getting away from the main pack. So Perez is pressing on with this one, and it reminds me very much really of Claudio Chiappucci, who was a devil for going off and just throwing the rule book out the window when it came to the mountains, and would attack, and everybody else would say, well, you know, who's going to be second today, because Chiappucci's gone. And it's what, 10 years now since that wonderful ride that Chiappucci did. He did about 210 or maybe 220 kilometres on his own on the stage in Siestria and the Tour de France. He went after mountain climb. I think he won by about a minute and a half in the end on the day's stage, but certainly he had a great day that day in the saddle. And these specialist climbers, if they're feeling good and they can get enough between them and the main pack going down the mountains to the other side as well, they can just ride anybody on a good day off their wheel, and that's what's trying to happen now. In fact, Chiappucci in 1993 won the stage into Corva di Badia. In fact, on that particular year in 1993, they had two arrivals, to use a French word I suppose, twice into Corva. The first stage was the stage 13 into Curva de Bahia. And that particular occasion, Argentine got the stage then, and the next day they did the loop circuit round, and it was 245 kilometres, by the way, and Claudio Chiappucci managed to get the stage, and his second spot was none less than Indurain, and Pulnikov back into third spot. And that was the day in 1993 when Indurain took over the leader's jersey in the Tour of Italy and then kept it right through to the end. It was 1993, the 76th edition of the Tour of Italy, and he'd just taken on the pink jersey, keeping it to the end. He hadn't had it on more than one day in the time trial in Indurain when he began to move up the general classification. That was just a 28-kilometre time trial on stage 10, and he took over the pink jersey just for one day. Missed a bit of a group that went away, and Lely took it over the lead for 3 days, where Indurain came thundering back. That man with enormous capacity to ride against the watch, and also when he came into the mountain, despite his size, he had these enormous lungs. He had a very slow heartbeat that pumped up the blood around his system, and so Indurain would just sit there and sit and sit and sit in the mountains, and very calculating too, would be able to hold his position in the overall classification. That's when he won then in 1993 by winning the stage into, by being second behind Chiappucci on the stage at Curva in 1993, stage 14. Right, we're looking now on the top left-hand side of your screen to Pantani, who retired early on, Marco Pantani. A sad sight, this one, because he had been hoping to get something for his troubles during the Tour of Italy, hoping to get a stage victory somewhere. He wasn't really match fit to go in the top 3 places, we knew that, but he had these chest problems. So many riders, we've had cold, miserable, wet days. I mean, whatever happened to global warming? It's certainly been very miserable for these riders, and it's very easy when you're travelling as they are in a group and you stay in a hotel. If somebody's got a bit of the sneezes and you're sitting there in the hotel in the evening, you can get these bugs around you when you're feeling a bit low, particularly if you're a bit tired. And so Pantani gone down with the cough and the splutters and just never got his form back that he'd been hoping to get as the race had gone on. If the sun had been shining, could have been a bit different. But of course, with bike racing, you can't suddenly get a doctor's note and take a day off. You have to get on your bike next morning and soldier on for the next 100 miles or so in the saddle and just go through the suffering and hope that it can clear up. Because the trouble is, you can't go and have all the normal cough mixtures and things which contain nasty things like ephedrine, which if it comes out in your wee that night in a dope test, you're banned and chucked off the race. So even the normal cold cures that we can go into chemists to have for our own coughs and splutters and chests and so on, these chaps can't have them. Because they contain substances which will show up in their urine. So that's a great shame, that there you are. That's what bike racing is about. We want to say to the chaps, right, you do it all on mineral water. Well, they have vitamins, they have all the ways of replacing the losses during the day that you do when you're sweating cobs. But mind, they've not been sweating much these last few days. The sweat's been coming out of the sky, it's been cold rain, and it's been one of the most miserable Tour of Italy we've had for a long time, not only in the conditions but also in the number of people that have retired or fallen out or gone away from the race. So if you've been down a hole down the pit, or been on holiday or something and have lost touch of the race, because I know back in Great Britain, unless you buy Cycling Weekly, which, what's today, is it Wednesday? Yes, so tomorrow, so Thursday, you'll be able to go and buy a copy of the cycling magazine. It comes out once a week, and update yourself on the tour so far. I know many people don't even watch cycling very much, but do when it comes to the big tours. Then get yourself a copy of the weekly magazine. You can find it. By the way, don't pay me for saying that. I'm just hoping you learn a bit more about cycling by going out and getting a copy, so you can read a bit more detail about the race, put yourself in the picture of what's been going on. But with a race like this, I'd say the trouble is we have been losing so many riders over the days. We're down now to about less than 150 of the 198 that started. And I'll just give you a rundown of some of the key riders that have gone. Simone, last year's victor, has dropped out of the race. He's gone. In the Panarea Fiordora team, that's the team that young Perez down the road rides for, they've lost no less than 5 of their 9 starters. And now what's going on here is I'm trying to run down and put you in the picture. Alacia, by the way, they've probably got most of their riders still in the race. Most teams have down to maybe 9 or less riders, but certainly the Alacia team will look like they're going hard for the team. I think that might be Marini back there. He was wedged between Perez and De Paula, the teammate of Marini. They came to the Giro. But so we've lost Simone so far. The Panarea team have lost of their team. They lost 5 of their 9 riders. Two of them or three of them are under suspicion of taking a new product called NESP, which is sort of EPO type substance. So they've been caught, as they do all these riders in the end. If they could start to cheat, somehow they get caught in the end, so that's it. Oh, this is Carcioli, by the way, from the Alessio team. So they've got a lot of riders all going for the team award overall, but he on the general classification is quite a little bit of a threat on general classification, because Carcioli is riding a 6th overall, 1 minute 20 seconds down on Jens Heppner, the overall leader. So that's why our camera's gone back, determined to pick him up and watch what's going on. Andre Noe for the MAPE team coming up to help young Evans, who's just back there. Evans starting this morning then in second spot, 48 seconds down on general classification. Right, so we've lost a number of riders. Pantani's packed it up today. Also gone Bettini. He had a bad crash and then went on to have a few problems. Bettini wasn't very fit. He went out. Garzelli was taken out the race too, a winner of this race in previous years. So we've been losing quite a lot of star riders out of the race, and the question mark's going to be for the Tour de France. Imagine some of these chaps come back and need to score a few points, like Casagrande yesterday being eliminated for running into, as he said, by accident, the rider from the Colombian Salitalia team. He said it was an accident, he didn't do it deliberately, but everybody else said, boo, 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 you did it deliberately. So he's gone back. So young Freddy Garcia is out of the race, having the stitches in his face. They say anywhere between 11 and 30 stitches hit him, but so we thinned it down. And that means that now, if you look at the general classification, let me run down that one, as we're settling in now to the real hardcore of today's stage. Stage 163 kilometres, that's 102 miles in all, from Conegliano to Corva in Badia. And we're now climbing up this climb of the Passo Pordoi, and when they get at the top of this one, they'll have 20 kilometres to go to the finish. So this is the nutcracker now. Young Perez here is no great threat on the general classification. He's lying 14 minutes and 29 seconds down. He could today move up a little bit amongst riders who ahead of him on GC aren't very good climbers, but here he is then. De Pauli 40 seconds back, making it look so easy indeed, but the general situation is as follows. I'll just go through it briefly for you, and then we'll have a bit of pause, and if you want to go and get pencil and paper out, we'll repeat it for you so that you can actually begin to pick up some of the riders that are in contention for the pink jersey today. Jens Heppner still leads overall on general classification. The total time so far is 68 hours, 12 minutes and 43 seconds. Yes, we time every rider every day, and you can see now on your screen what the gap is back there. And Lungi also, by the way, is somewhere wedged in between them. 1 minute 30 seconds to Lungi, by the way. So I'll be getting in and out from what's coming over my my radio Corsa here. In fact, it looks now as if Carcioli, who's a very great danger man today, by the way, coming up then to meet up with De Pauli. So Alessio now, will he go with his teammates, or is he going to go straight past him? I'll come back to the overall classification and see how these two. Yes, De Pauli's now edged back. He's probably been told, De Pauli, to ease back. Oh, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, I think it is, for the for Jens Heppner group. I'm just waiting to let me translate it back into French. Here we go. 2 minutes and 15. 2 minutes 15 seconds then between Perez and the pink jersey. Now, if and Carcioli is just over a minute now behind Perez, so he's got to be about a minute ahead of. So it could be closing up to 1 minute on Heppner. Interesting. Well, as ever before, the riders come through. There's like sort of a lull, and they get over their radios. What's going on here? 25 kilometres to go for the leader Perez at the moment, and I'll probably be interrupted by the gaps back at this 25 kilometre point. So I'll do the best I can to give them to you. As these two riders, this is a great threat. De Pauli here has been doing a cracking ride. He's been away all day today, and now he's just sacrificing himself for his teammate Carcioli that's come up here to join him. And Carcioli this morning on the general classification was in 6th spot, just 1 minute and 20 seconds down on Heppner. Technically, if my calculations are correct, the chap with the crash hat on there, Carcioli, is now about to move into the lead on the race for the pink jersey. Here he is, this is the pink jersey. who's thinking about to lose that one to Carcioli, bearing in mind that when we go over the top of this particular climb here, they're going down the other side into the valley, and then another little short, sharp climb at the Passo de Campolongo. So it ain't over yet by any means, because on the descents, Hepner usually manages to get there or thereabouts. So that's the gap back then to the rider here, Carcioli, who's trying to cause all sorts of problems. Confirmation coming up then, Carcioli, 1 minute. One minute and 5 seconds back to Carcioli from Perez, but the big check will be between this man, Carcioli, and the pink jersey. My mistake, it was 1 minute to Carcioli, 1 minute 05 to Paoli, and I'll put in a picture rundown on the classification when this lot's gone through. 1:55 to Lunghi. Now Lunghi, we haven't seen him on our cameras, but he's the chap who got the stage victory the other day in the... I've got to find it for you in just a minute. I'm trying to get all this lot down, so... Just waiting for a moment. More time checks coming over. 2 minutes down now to this next group, which I think contains... Pelazzotti is at 2 minutes and 35, I think. Yeah, Pelazzotti is just a bit back on the main group at 2:35, but we have... Yeah, the 2:29 is back to the peloton, with Pelazzotti just hanging off the back of it, and but as yet I don't think I've had the picture. I don't think he's in the group, the peloton. We'll have to wait and see on that one. They didn't say the group of the pink jersey, because normally they say the group of the Maglia Rosa, and I don't think, but I'm just waiting for confirmation on that one, because if it's so that he's getting on towards 3 minutes down, there he is. Now this is it. He is down a long way. It must be coming up the time in just a moment. Yep. Let me do it. 22. Three minutes 32 seconds then for the pink jersey. So 3 minutes 32 for the pink jersey group on the leading group at the moment. So well, they're just giving out on the Radio Corsa the riders that will be needed to go to the dope test at the end of it all, because they take the stage victor, they take the man who's in the pink jersey, they take then about, I think it's 5 riders, of which 3 go for the check and 2 are held as reserves in case the chaps that they're calling out don't finish the stage, because it's all done by random. Before the stage starts, the person in charge of the dope testing has a random selection of numbers and sticks them into an envelope and gives them to the chief commissaire, and when we get 25 kilometres from the finish of the race, then the chief commissaire opens the envelope. So in other words, he didn't know who was going to be for the dope test. Nobody knows that, only the people who selected it, the man in charge of the dope testing, has made the selection, a random selection, which they just do random check it, so you never know who's going to be in there, except you do know the leader on the stage, well, leader overall, and the winner of the stage will be up on the dope test, but the rest is just a random selection, and he reads them out. So in other words, you could actually be tested twice if you're in this main pack here without even knowing it, just because your name comes out of the hat, whereas other riders may race for all year and nobody selected. But then of course there are checks in the hotels, there are checks before the races start and everything else like that, so the checks are going on all the time, and that's what they just read out, is who's got to be going for the dope test. That's all the team managers in the following cars back down in the valley there can listen to that information. It's their job then, because the riders don't know, it's their job to get their rider and say, hey, you into the caravan at the end of the stage, because they have to go straight into it, and there they have the urine test and before they can go back to the hotel. Anyway, that's all the technicalities. I thought you'd like to know how it all goes on. Oh, by the way, on the test for the hematocrit level, that's the one when they say you can't start because your blood count, your red blood corpuscle count is over the level of 50%. There was a test taken at a place called Bolzano, which is just down the road from here, by the Italian Federation, the ladies' race being held down there, and actually three of the riders in that event were asked not to start because their blood count was above the 50%. So that's interesting that they've had three women in a women's event just down the road from here found that they were over the limits, and that's not normal with the women's racing. We don't hear much of that, but certainly they did a spot check, and that has proved that three of them had to not start the race on the next day. So that was a bit of information. Then that was the race at Bolzano, and they have to rest now for 14 days. That's them out of action. Right, back then to general classification. I've been promising for you ages, haven't I? And you've got your pencil and paper there, as we now will give you the information about the overall classification, and then we can translate into that what's going on here on the road to see the battle for the pink jersey. First of all, this morning then, Jens Heppner was the leader on the overall classification, the German rider from the Telecom team. In second spot was Cadel Evans, riding for Mapei. The Australian was 48 seconds down. Cadel Evans in this little group here, he's lying second in line this morning, was 48 seconds down on Jens Heppner in the yellow jersey. You can see the gap 1 minute and 3 back on the screen to Carcioli, but we're going to concentrate on the overall classification. I'll let that come on the screen and you can sort it out yourselves. So Cadel Evans is second at 48 seconds. Tyler Hamilton from the USA. Oh gosh, I'd have to just stop at the third place here for technical reasons. So Tyler Hamilton is there from the USA, riding for the CSC Tiscali team. Tyler Hamilton, 1 minute and 6 seconds in third spot. So we'll watch this little lot going on. 22 kilometres to go. As Heppner's name seems to just they got Hep, and they ran out of Matze Hep. Well, my goodness. I don't know whether they've ran out of road or ran out of paint, but they don't seem to have got that lot really sorted out. Perhaps Hepper means something else in Italian. Anyway, this is the man trying to take over the pink jersey, Carcioli. Still some blokes up in front to catch, and those for him to drop too. So there he is, going up to the top of the climb. The winner of this climb, I think that, there we are, Perez Cupio. There back to Carcioli is on your screen now, and De Poli has been dropped off the pace. Perez Cupio is going for a very special prize, the Cima Coppi prize at the top here, and that's worth quite a few bob. So very pleased to see him get that, by the way, the little lad in the orange. We haven't seen much of him recently because the Italian television director has been staying with the rest of the pack, but here he is coming on now. He's no great threat on the overall competition at all, but he's going out to get this very special prize for the stage here, which incorporates the memorial to Fausto Coppi. More of him anon, because we've got to update you on the classification, but the spectators are out here cheering him on the way, because undoubtedly he's enlivened things enormously today, and particularly up here in the mountains. And you can see yet again and hear the noise going on. And I'll try and pick out for you here the exact amount of money he's going to go for. It's quite a nice little bag of gold, by the way, on this particular climb. And the King of Mountains climbs, all told, they will be, let's see what we've got down here. King of Port, yeah, 90,000 euro is amongst the special King of the Mountains prize. In fact, the whole prize in the Tour of Italy amounts to £850,000 translated out of Europe. So up for the, I was trying to give you the caption of the leaders and pick up all that's going on here and the money and things they're going to get, when they're now going to in fact give you that on the screen. So if you've got your pencil and paper, keep saying, well, when we're going to have it, they're going to get it then from, oh, it's got the Cima Coppi thing, that as he goes for the top, he'll get 2,200 euros will be the prize for going over the top. And Perez already at the first climb we just did down the road got 510, so he's now heading towards about nearly 3,000 euros prizes today. Well, there we are, that's a rundown And what we're doing here, by the way, it hasn't shown Hepner because everybody's saying he's going to be dropped off the pace today. So if it finished like that without Hepner, strange sort of graphic, but it shows between Evans and Hamilton there's just there some 18 seconds. Frigo lying fourth in general classification, 23 seconds, and Escartin back in 7th spot, 52. So we're picking out there the key climbers. But I'll add to that for you now as we get toward the top of the climb of Passo Pordoi. With 20 points in the Kingdom Mountains competition, well, young Perez got 10 points. No, in fact, he was second, wasn't he, on that climb just down the road? So he got 6 points there. So he should be heading into 26 points. Now, Lungi's going to be caught, by the way. Chap in the blue on the right-hand side here is about to be caught by the main group, which has now shot out the back Hepner, and the battle for the pink jersey is raging in this group here as Cadel Evans starts to force the pace with Frigo alongside him. So on the Kingdom Mountains competition, Cupio, 15 points to start the day out this morning, will be going on to get another 20, which makes him 35, plus 6, which is 41. And so, in fact, Cupio, all being well in the orange jersey, is now riding into not only a nice bag of gold at the top of the climb in memory of Fausto Coppi, but he's also looked like he's going to take over the King of the Mountain jersey too as well. So Cupio's what? Oh no, Evans is attacking. Evans is now attacking then. So out the window goes my rundown on the general classification, because this is where it's all happening. As Evans, of all people, who would have thought this man? I mean, he only turned pro for Mappe this year. He rode a Stagiari for Psycho last year. That's just back end of the year. He rode a few events, and then he went and joined the Mappe team, and he suddenly opened people's eyes by his success in the Tour of Austria, and then at the start of this year getting a stage victory early on in the Tour Down Under. And since then, Evans has never really looked back, and now he's just surprising everybody by attacking no less than Frigo. This man's having his own little battle at the front, is Perez, but this will take him over the top into, I'm sure, the green jersey as the King of the Mountains. And now they pull back to Poli, and Coaccioli is just further on. In fact, look how Frigo just rode carefully there, almost like the professor. He's a very intelligent rider, by the way, Frigo, up here in the sort of pink and white and bluish coloured trousers. He's just wandering up, or shorts, because Mr. Doug Sullivan will shout at me for calling them trousers, because I do get things wrong, Doug. I'm sorry about that, but anyway, there's no doubt about who's going to win this Cima Coppi, the big prize. It's going to be Perez himself. Well done then. His girlfriend will be very pleased indeed, because last year when he won a stage victory in the Tour of Italy, an unknown Mexican, they said, well, you know, what's your ambition? He said, to get a girlfriend. Well, he's got a girlfriend. He's now picking up lots of loot as well with his special climbing. He's already won a stage in this race up in the mountains, and now he's going yet again to get the Cima Coppi prize. But the gap now, the big thing is, where has Coaccioli got to? And Evans is just losing a bit of ground as Frigo is starting to show he's the boss. And Tyler Hamilton is not far off the pace too as well. And see Tyler Hamilton just back again. And this little group, I think, also looks like Tonkov has probably made it too. As Perez then going up here, has he quite made it yet? No, he hasn't. You better watch out. They're accelerating behind him, and keep your fingers crossed then for the lad coming up here towards the top of the climb for the Coppi Memorial. More of Mr. Coppi in a moment, because everybody knows he was my idol when I started cycling. The one man that I always admired tremendously was Fausto Coppi. He had an amazing career. He was our record holder. He was a great rider, winning the classics, winning things like the Paris-Roubaix, also winning things like the Tour de France, the Tour of Italy, our record holder. Great, tremendous rider. And this is in memory of the great Fausto Coppi. And my thanks go out then to that very fine print I've got from Joe Scherrer of Fausto Coppi, which was sent to me, and I've got it hanging on my wall there, Joe, and thanks so much indeed for that remarkable painting, which only a limited number, I think there are 500 special editions of that painting was made, and it hangs amongst my collections of Fausto Coppi memorabilia, including from the family up there, Smart family in Malvern. One of the little daughters, because Mike Smart has got all his daughters out there too. They're Wendy, Ellie and Poppy. I think it's his wife Wendy, Ellie and Poppy. And of course all the cats, Millhouse, Bart, Kit Kat, Buster, Phil and Lil, our cats. They sent me a nice little cutout of a Fausto Coppi made by one of their young daughters, all stuck together with pins and things, and it's up on World War II. This is in memory of the great Fausto Coppi, but you're watching this stage of the Tour of Italy when the thing is just showing of the drama of bike ride. There's an unknown Mexican, well, he was last year, won a stage in the Tour of Italy last year, suddenly came came onto the scene, fell off by the way last year, smashed his 2 teeth, got back on his bike, rode into the finish at the end of it all, got himself a girlfriend, got himself a pack of gold now. But now, as we see this rider go across the line here, the clock is much more important back from here, so I'm going to run my tick-tock from here back to the rest of the group, because Perez has gone through there. There's no threat on the overall classification, because he started today way off the pace. Let's see where he was in general classification. He was 14 minutes and 29 seconds down in 35th spot. So the battle is raging here, as going across the line will be the main contenders for the pink jersey, which surely is going off the shoulders of Hepner, who's marooned further down the climb, and it's only a short drop down the valley and another climb yet to come as Frigo starts to go again, and the tenacity of this man just behind there, Cadel Evans, going after these two on the climb here. He's just going to close that gap down. What guts and determination this ex-mountain biker has got to go after Frigo, who's going up the top here now, and back the gap then. Coaccioli's gone through, and the gap there, well, I've got Coaccioli coming through, and he's getting up towards 50 seconds, could be a bit more in a moment. Yes, so it's 55 seconds to Frigo, and the other, what, 2 or 3 off the front of this little group. But they'll get back together, I think. But the question is, where is the pink jersey? Well, certainly the pink jersey has gone. And here, Escartin and De Poli, and that was at 1:22 back. I'm doing my own time off the Coaccioli at the front. So it gets a bit blurred from time to time. It's not the easiest to sit here and jot down the key run. There's some damn good rides coming over here looking for place in the top 10, but we're looking for the pink jersey. There's Lungi just behind the fellow here, who tried to have a go and has just got pulled back in, but whoops, they're going back down now. The regroupment will start now on the way. There's Tyler Hamilton that's disappeared. He's a damn good descender, by the way, Tyler Hamilton. And so he was with that Frigo group, which we'll call at 55 seconds, because a lot of star riders in there. And starting 1:22. So I'll let the clock go as we watch them come down here now, trying to regroup on the descent. And is that Frigo? No, it isn't Frigo, it's gone away. It's the index rider that just nipped off the front. I don't think unless he's put a hat on, but there's a bit of attacking coming on this one. This is going to be great. Just sit back and watch it as the riders now, the roads, no traffic coming up here, completely blocked, and now they're throwing caution to the winner. Pelazzotti's taken a bit of a pasting, by the way. That's him with the flowing locks, and they'll be disappointed with that one. Pelazzotti coming through 2 minutes 40 seconds down. Well, over the top of the climb of the Passat Pordoi, this marvellous mountain where so many battles have been fought out over the years. And at the top of that climb, it's 2,239 metres above sea level. Salvadelli then trying to, in fact, he's got away. He's another demon descender, by the way, and so is Hamilton. So we're going to actually watch that this is going to be a battle downhill as much as uphill. Hang on to your hats, and as I said before, if your grandma's of a nervous disposition, I should tell her to close her eyes or have a little nap, and when she gets to the bottom she can have a little look, because this is going to be some whirlwind of a descent down here. Salvadelli, well, now with so many of the top riders, I think he's a damn good rider anyway, but his name has only been sort of mentioned en passant. That's a good Italian word, as being a chance to get himself up in the pink jersey. But this is his descendant. You see up the go on the right hand side what his success is, and he has been quite an aggressive performance in the Tour of Italy over the years, but he's lying at 8th at the moment, 1 minute 49 seconds down on Hepner, who really is going to go out the occasion, because there is Frigo going down and Evans following him, still waiting for Hepner to come into sight. And it's going to be 4 minutes and 15 seconds since the group containing, well, since Coaccioli went through, just 55 seconds up on on Carcioli, 55 seconds back, and here comes the pink jersey. So the pink jersey at the moment is at 4 minutes and 28 seconds. So 4 minutes, that's the end of it then as far as Hepner's concerned. I can't think that he's going to pull back that time, because 4 minutes 28, and that makes him probably about 3:28 on Frigo and Evans and Salvadelli, but certainly they're all going to probably regroup in some form, those top riders down the bottom of this little thing, and will then be deciding then who's going to take over the jersey as the overall leader by the time we get to the end of the stage today, right at the top of the thumping great mountain which is lying ahead of them. So it ain't over yet. They're still going down the valley and up the other side. 163 kilometres today, that's 102 miles, and the finish, by the way, there's a 6% climb in the last 300 metres, just a sort of bit of sting in the tail. Out of it now, off that to look at how they are compared with each other. And Cadel Evans this morning 48 seconds down on Hepner in second spot. Tyler Hamilton was third this morning at 1 minute and 6 seconds, so he's close up there with Evans at the moment. And then in fourth spot was Frigo, who's setting a hot pace down the mountain. There he is at the moment with Cadel Evans. Frigo this morning was at 1 minute and 11 seconds. And what I'll do in a moment, I'll sort out the gap between these two. For instance, there with Frigo and Evans. Evans this morning was just, 23 seconds ahead of Frigo, so it's that close, and they're locked in mortal combat on the descent now. Well, I hope it doesn't do too mortal, but as they get down the bottom, then they'll have to watch out for the Kelme rider. Gonzalez Jimenez was also climbing quite well. He came over just in that little group. This morning he was fifth then, the Kelme rider, at 1 minute and 15 seconds on Hepner. Carcioli, who's setting the hot pace on this descent, who was over the top of the climb chasing after Perez. This morning he was 1 minute 20 down on Hepner. Skartin was seventh this morning, 1 minute 40. And Salvadelli, who we see dropping like a stone here, 1 minute 49. Rick Verbrugge, who came over, must have been about 4 minutes down. He this morning was ninth at 2:13, so I think Rick's going to struggle to stay in the top 10. The Lampre rider, Garate, was 10th this morning at 2:17. Haven't spotted him yet, but we'll have a little look for you to see where he's got to. Pelazzotti, who this morning was 11th at 2 minutes 28. Well, he's 2:40 down on his teammate Carcioli, so he's out the frame now. He's dropping a lot more time. Vladimir Belli did not start this morning. He this morning had been lying in 12th spot, but he's got bronchitis and probably watching this on television if he's got back home already. Toshnig from the Gerolsteiner team was 13th at 3 minutes down this morning. Andrea No from Mappe was 3:25 in 14th spot, and Mazzoloni from the Tacconi Sport team was 15th at 4 minutes and 3 seconds. We can more or less forget most of the rest of them. Marine this morning, by the way, 17th at 4:16. He's been perky up there. We've seen Tonkov too, who this morning was 4:32 down. And so that's about it. So now let's watch the battle going on. Not much for Perez, but certainly he's got himself a bag full of Euros. But this man Carcioli now hammering down the descent into the valley, and he at the moment is technically not only he's second on the road, but he's technically the race leader as the best placed rider of that little group that were hounding after the pink jersey on the classification as at this morning, because he was 14 seconds down on Evans, but as you can see now that gap is probably a bit more than 14 seconds. But can Evans and Frigo close it? The answer is, I think, surely yes. In fact, they're beginning, I think, to peg him back now. Look at that, looks a bit like the scale extricts, doesn't it, eh? But there's the bike riders. Carcioli down in the front, chasing after Perez, then giving all he's got Salvadelli, and I think the Index team is the one that rides on copy bikes, so appropriate he's been up there having a bit of a go today. There's Evans and Frigo swapping places, and I'm not sure that's Tonkov or his teammate that's come up to him there, whether that's Garate. There's Hamilton. So another demon descender. I wonder if his tugboat's watching. Oh, he's going to be caught at the moment. It looks like somebody's closing the gap on him. Right, Perez then down into the valley, that short descent. They only came down, what, about 10 kilometres it's been down, starting then the climb up from this place called Araba, and the top of here yet another climb, the Passo de Campolongo, but this one up to is only a very short climb. They've only got about 4 kilometres of climbing for the drop down into Corvara in Badia. This is the point when they hit the bottom, they've got to be regrouping as they fire up the last climb of the day before the run down into the finish.
The Giro live.
Well, our leader is inside the final 10 kilometres of this race. It's up one side and down the other as far as he's concerned on this final climb of the day, and the battle's still raging to see who's going to get the pink jersey. Coccioli is still hanging on out there at the moment, and Evans and Frigo are battering each other, but this man might yet get over the top and stay on the descent. So we're going to get a picture, I think, of Perez, who we missed him going through, and the time check's coming in left, right and centre to see what the gap is between Coccioli and the rest of the hopefuls. There he is then with 10 kilometres to go, and well, he seems to thinking he's going to make it up there, but the rest of the field are after him now. But can he get over the top? Can he get down the other side? Because once he's over the top of the climb here, it's about 6.5 kilometres down into the finish with that nasty little blip at the back end of it. If he only makes it to the top of this climb, then surely he can be in there. So there is 9 kilometres to go. Now the top of this climb, 6.5 from the finish. He's 2.5 kilometres from going over the top and going down the other side and getting yet another stage victory. A brilliant performance by this specialist climber. He got the stage into San Giacomo the first time we hit the really big mountain. We did have a reasonable one up to Limonti Piemonte when Garzelli won the stage, and there he was taking over the leader's jersey after that one. But Perez then has had the green jersey in the past. He's now on the way again to get more points in the competition. But the question is, what's going to happen here? Back to this man, Coccioli, on your screen. 2 kilometres to go then for Perez. No threat over. Here comes Hepner then, trying to get close back up again. It ain't over there for Hepner either, still battling. Now he's fought his way over the top of that last climb, and he knows when he gets to this one now. It's only a short, sharp one, and then the 6.5 kilometres down the other side, and the rest of them now begin to lose their tempo here. Interesting enough then that they've regrouped, and having had their battles on the way down, they seem to think now that we might as well leave this one. There's Frigo just at the top there, between Chalba Hamilton in the red and white for CSC, the multicoloured jersey of the rider from the MAPE team, Cadel Evans, and just in there from the Lampre Daikin team, trying to stay with the pace then, is Garati, the Spanish rider. So Garati then is in this little group here, another man who's up on the list of the riders in our overall classification. Time's coming over, check's coming up. But the times that I'm getting, by the way, are the times back from Perez. So here we are. This is a group containing Frigo, Hamilton, Evans, Garati, and this is Savoldelli off on his own. Frigo, Hamilton, Evans, leading 3. Gosh, is this close packed. There, Garati. Perez then looks like he get over the top, might get a stage victory, but starting so far down on the general classification, he'll be moving up a bit from his 35th spot at 14 minutes and 29, that's for sure, but isn't challenging this lot here, because still again is Coccioli in second spot, but this is the man where it all matters then. We're going to get a time check on him when he goes across the top of Coccioli, the danger man for the jersey. 8 kilometres to go for Perez, but in reality the battle is here. Back foot on down, Savoldelli. Start out this morning, Savoldelli split by just 29 seconds from him and Coaccioli. They've got to watch it too here, because Coaccioli, in terms of Hamilton, he was 14 seconds only down on Hamilton. And as far as Evans was concerned, 26 seconds difference. So there we are, that's the rundown on them. So Gonzalez Jimenez also in this group here. We've got in this group, by the way, except for Escartin, we've got the top 6 riders on the general the classification. We've excluded Hepner, he's not with it at the moment. So Evans, Hamilton, Frigo, Jimenez and Salvadelli and Coaccioli are all here, either like Salvadelli is off on his own now, Coaccioli down the road. There you are, that's a little rundown on his achievements over the years. Salvadelli, they call him the Avenging Angel then, because he's such a young-looking rider too, and so this young-looking rider then now third on the road behind this man Perez. Just listen to this tremendous roar, because they're watching a grand battle here going on. Perez, can he take another climb? He certainly will take the green jersey as leader on the King of the Mountains at the end of this one, to go with that tremendous performance up the climb, which was in memory of Coppi when he got that one. Now he's after yet another one. He certainly is going to make it over here. And down the other side, he'll descend like a stone, 6.5 kilometres. Nasty little flip at the end of it all, by the way. The last 300 metres, it goes up again. And he might be on his way to another stage victory. 500 metres to go. There, Coaccioli. This is the danger man for the pink jersey. They've got to close him down. I wonder if the rest down, in fact, they'll certainly be able to see him up the climb, as Salvadelli, who this morning then was just some 29 seconds down on Coaccioli. Those two battling out for the pink jersey. Evans this morning was 1 minute ahead of Salvadelli on the general classification, but Coaccioli to Evans this morning, just 32 seconds difference. Great! This is what sport's all about. A man riding with a team diminished from the 9 that started at just 4, of which only one of them, Dumo, could be any help of him in the mountains. And Perez then pressing on for this small Panaria team, one of the low-budget teams that produced again a magic man, this Mexican, going for yet another stage in the Tour of Italy. Just take in this wonderful moment. That's great. And Coaccioli, well, whether he got over the top ahead of Perez or not, that's not his concern. His concern is what damage can he do to the people tracing behind him. He's been hounded down by Salvadelli, he's been hounded down by Frigo, by Hamilton, by Jimenez, by Garatti, by Evans. Here comes Salvadelli. Well, the Calmi boys begin to lose a bit of ground on this climb up here. And Coaccioli will get a time check between him. Don't worry about the 40-odd seconds here, except as to whether he's going to try and get the stage victory off Perez. It's just going to be what will happen to the pink jersey. Battle raging with these two chaps, or these chaps all together. Absolutely amazing. I'm getting completely speechless here. Okay, I'll shut up for a minute. So it's 6 kilometres down the other side for Perez. And here goes Coaccioli over the top. And after him then Salvadelli, then just about only about 10-12 seconds there. I've pressed the watch a bit too late, I'm sorry. Got two watches, one in each hand here at the moment, and I've pressed them the wrong way. Anyway, so I reckon it's about 25 seconds back to the main pack on your screen here at the moment. So they give the time back then, but I think somehow they're likely to catch Salvadelli. That's the position for the King of the Mountains competition, but really the whole thing now is what's happening in the battle for the pink jersey. Evans is doing a great ride here. He's just in the wheel. There goes Hamilton, and there goes Frigo. And if they can just close the gap a bit on Salvadelli and Coaccioli, the pink jersey could go to either Evans or Hamilton. Those two then, amazing to think that we've got an American and an Australian battling for the pink jersey, having been worn by a German Hepner ever since he took it over on that run-in towards De La Vasella on the 19th of May. Hepner then about a dozen days in pink. He's out of it now, but battle rages on the slopes down towards the finish. Well, Perez here, 4 kilometres to go. And here comes Coaccioli. Escartin's just gone over the top, by the way, so Escartin looks like he's going to lose out on his attempt to try and get up on the podium. Marzoloni's just gone over the top as well. Yes, Escartin 2 minutes 40 seconds down on Perez over the top, so he's lost at least a minute then. Now, well, they're chasing after. Salvadelli is just in front of them, and Coaccioli, so they're trying to close. They should get up to Salvadelli, I think, at the moment. He's a fearless descender, but here again, there's 5 men versus Salvadelli, and they've got Coaccioli is still in the lead on terms of pink jersey, I think, because he started this morning just 32 seconds down on Evans, and there he is. They've really got not only to reel in Salvadelli, but they've got to close the gap then as far as Hamilton is concerned, Evans is concerned, because it could be that Coaccioli could well be taking the pink jersey. Salvadelli still hanging on, 4 kilometres to go for him. Well, there's Perez, and he's going down remarkably well. He's certainly learnt to descend, Perez. Most of the specialist climbers, well, except I suppose to old Chiappucci, who was a nutcase when it came to descending. A lot of the specialist climbers aren't that good going down the other side, but certainly Perez has been motoring down there. And here comes the cavalry, what's left of it. And it looks like, in fact, either Jimenez or his teammate have just nipped off the front there. What a race. Coaccioli's still the danger man. Garati takes over the lead. Garati for the Lampre-Daikin team in the pink and the blue. This is Coaccioli looking to try and get himself the pink jersey. Somehow I don't think he's going to. Yeah, 3 kilometres to go for Perez, and this is the gap back. So 2 kilometres for Perez, but the clock running, if we go back again in just a moment, I think there's about half a minute, there's about 40 seconds probably between Coaccioli and that chase group. And he looks like he's going to get Salvadelli up his backside any moment now. Salvadelli's closing up on Coaccioli, descending magnificently to close the gap. Salvadelli throwing all caution to the wind's end and really nearly going off the road, has now closed up with Coaccioli. Well, Salvadelli this morning on general classification was 1:49 down, so he's a minute and 1 second down on Evans, who's the best placed in that group, chasing behind them. It's going to be a nice little ride in here for Perez to take the stage, surely, bearing in mind the last 300 metres it goes up a bit, and there are of course 12 seconds, 8 seconds and 4 seconds bonus as well, as Salvadelli now has overtaken Coaccioli to close that gap, but he was over a minute down on Cadel Evans this morning. So what a day we're going to have here then, for the watches will be pressed to split the times back again. Coaccioli this morning was at what, 29 seconds ahead of Salvadelli. So still, if he can keep inside to Salvadelli, he may lose second spot on the run into finish, but he could get himself there into third, and the gap between himself and Salvadelli, well, who's going to get the pink jersey? The battle rages then behind Perez for the pink jersey, as Perez then coming up that nasty little ride, coming in towards the end. This will hurt a few people. He's going to take the 12 seconds bonus, but he's so far down on general classification it won't really matter. What matters to him, he's got another stage victory coming his way in the Tour of Italy, romping in here. They certainly aren't going to catch this lad now. Coming in toward the finish then, the crowd applauding his very perky performance. Bear in mind, he gets no team support in the mountains, riding for that very small Panarea team, one of the lowest budget teams in the top echelons of Italian racing. And here he comes then. He came over to Italy just with a little suitcase full of his worldly belongings just 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and then he won the baby Giro King of the Mountains competition there. They said, hey, here's a good lad, and he got taken over by Panarea, stayed with that team ever since. He's repaid their loyalty to him yet again for the Mexican to come in for his second stage victory in the Tour of Italy this year. Certainly he'll also take the green jersey as the King of the Mountain. That's it, well done, young man, second victory. And here comes a sprint then as Salvadelli comes in to get himself a bonus of 8 seconds on the line. It's that close indeed. Coaccioli looks like he might have been caught by the chasers too. So can Salvadelli in 8 seconds here and get a bit of a gap between himself and the rest of them. Bear in mind, Salvadelli's 1 minute down on Evans this morning, who now looks like he could take the pink jersey if he only keep within 1 minute to Salvadelli. Less than 1 minute in fact. He's got to be around about 52 seconds because Salvadelli's destined to get 8 seconds bonus. The battle is raging from them coming up behind. Salvadelli took off on the descent. He's looking back now, but he should keep concentrating. Every second is going to matter. And they come roaring after him. Ignore the 43, 44 on your screen. It's how far back behind Salvadelli as they're going to close up on him on that nasty little climb. Camera here foreshortening it as he crosses the line then just ahead of well, it was, according to my watch, only about 5 seconds in it, so that means a shuffling here could be that Evans, Frigo got himself in there, I think probably into third place, so Salvadelli would be minus 8 seconds bonus, but it may not be enough because there was only probably about 5 seconds on my watch here between Salvadelli and the chase coming behind, as here comes Escartin trying to get, it looks like he's got the pink jersey at the moment. We'll wait for confirmation of that one, but I think that Hamilton and Evans kept their positions by closing up. Bear in mind that Hamilton this morning was only 43 seconds away from Salvadelli, but I think the gap was sufficient for Evans and Hamilton and Frigo still to be first, second and third, although Frigo looked like he beat Hamilton to the line, and Frigo, I think if he was third, would have got himself 4 seconds bonus, and this morning there was only 5 seconds between Hamilton and Frigo, so Frigo could probably have leapfrogged over Hamilton, and the order could be subject to official confirmation at the end of it all. We're just getting the times coming over my headphones here now, but certainly, yeah, Frigo was third, so he did get 4 seconds. Garatti was fourth. Gonzalez fifth. Hamilton. Evans was next. Eighth then was Coaccioli was in 8th spot. So Coaccioli, who was the danger man on the climb, finally got pulled in, and they stormed past him at the finish. So his attempt to take the pink jersey faded as Evans and Hamilton and Frigo went thundering past him. So a bit of a disappointment, I think, for Coaccioli, who tried so hard but got pulled back. He just couldn't descend as fast as people like Salvadelli or Evans, Hamilton and so on. Here comes a man who's really in liveness all the way through today. De Paul Soli, who went away with that early break. Undoubtedly, the Lazio team will be surely taking the pink jersey in the competition for the teams. So still here coming down, the pink jersey of Hepner. We'll know now it's gone, and Pelazzotti I think is with him too as well. Not such a good day as would be expected by those hopeful with this young rider, but still he's only 24 years of age, and one day he may come even better still. More. Yes, so there was about 4 seconds, I think, back to Frigo et al., but it won't make any difference then when Salvadelli came in, because he was a bit down there. Salvadelli finishing in second spot. Now there's the pink jersey. Well, looking down the general classification, he could probably end up today on the overall classification just outside the top 10, I would think, as far as Hepner's concerned, because he's dropping down to amongst those riders who are some 4 minutes down on the GC, and so he probably just won't make the top 20, I suppose, but he's done a great ride. So Perez Quapio then having got himself the victory, all the times coming in back to him. That's what you see on your screen there. Well, to those of you out here, we've seen an amazing race today on Eurosport, bringing you the great performance, and I'm not quite sure that what's happening back with British Eurosport, because in fact, they've recorded, I think, our programme today, and they're putting me out a bit later on, because those in British Eurosport are now... I've got 2 split commentaries here. Please excuse me on this one. That the Perez has just finished here, and if you're watching this bit on British Eurosport later on, we did go to tennis, but you're seeing the best part of the racing where it took off from there. Sorry you didn't get the live performance. So the unfortunate thing is that when it's all over and done with now, you won't miss the real part. So it's for those of you now watching the live programme, this is where Perez gets himself the special award in memory of Coppi. He gets his fizzy pop as well too, but so the race today then, the amazing turnover. We rather thought that in the end, Hepner might lose his jersey, but I'm still waiting to hear over the headphones as to what was the general classification then. In fact, they won't run it until the pink jerseys come in here. Chioni just behind the group coming up. That might be Kessler leading in the group with the pink jersey. There's Chioni with the crash hat on, the Mappe rider, and amazingly too, one of the riders from the Tacconi Sport team coming in as well. Sorry, Sacconi team, because he's really one of the lead-out men, one of the chaps who rides with Cipollini, but he's the only decent mountain climber they've got there. But there is Hepner at the back, having lost out a little bit today on that jersey, but he's done well. Morini also with him, just number 26. Alessio certainly taking the team award today, and Hepner, spirited ride coming in here, 6.5, maybe 7 minutes down on the winner. So that's goodbye to pink jersey, but the crowd will applaud what he's done so far. The German really has, I think, popped into the record books now. We'll have to check back, but certainly it was way back, I think 1971, the last German to take over the pink jersey, an awful long time ago, but he didn't keep it, Gregor Brown, as long as Hepner's just kept it. So bye-bye pink jersey for him, but really he's, I think, thrown his hat in the air and said, here I am for next year, because Telecom were and ahhing as to whether they re-sign him, so possibly they will re-sign him after his performance today. But certainly this man Perez Quapio, I think he's going to find that his value to the team will rocket as well, and well, I must say I hope he can stay with them, and I just hope they stay with the sport too, Panaré, because they've got more than enough problems with one or two of the riders trying to cheat the system. That's going to roll on quite a bit yet, but I think that the team management of this team, the Panaré team, can I think just just show that this young lad here shows what cycling's all about. He's been a gutsy performer, and he's got himself a second stage victory. But Cadel Evans, who would have thought this, that we're going to have in the pink jersey all the way from Australia, this marvellous rider who started life, he's been 4 times on the podium as the World Mountain Bike Championship, twice the junior, twice as an under-23. But who would have thought in those days when he's riding on fat tires that he'd be here in the pink jersey? Good on you, sport. Well, it's what, about 9 hours back to Australia. I mean, I'm sure that maybe many people out there, I don't know if you can get it on our website or something over there back in Australia. I know some people can actually, if they're mad enough, can tune in to pick up our commentaries from Eurosport on the web. I don't know how the hell you do it, but if they pick this up in Australia, they've absolutely gone amazingly bananas now, because it's confirmed he is in the pink jersey. And just for a moment, it was a bit frightening that 1 or 2 of the riders might have closed the gap on him. I think maybe Frigo's overtaken Hamilton on the general classification to be into second spot, but no doubt about who was first. He came into the race today 48 seconds down on Hepner, who just couldn't hold the pace, but he had the audacity to as well, and the typical Australian attitude. He even attacked Frigo. He's been out there having a go. He just that's typical of the Australians, by the way. No wonder they beat us at rugby, no wonder they beat us at cricket, no wonder they beat us at anything they choose to put their minds to. But as is going to be tremendous for Australia, who over the years have been producing riders who've now begun to go across the Europe in great numbers. Since the Hubert Offerman all those years ago, who won the Paris-Brest-Paris, he broke the record from Lanzan and John O'Groats, did Hubert Offerman, he was racing. Great Australian. Then in his wheels went Phil Anderson, who was the first Australian to take over the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. And so we've now got another Australian here. Just also think of how Stuart O'Grady took the yellow jersey and the green jersey in the Tour de France last year, lost the green jersey on the final day in the sprint up the finishing straight of the Champs-Élysées. I'm sure then that Stewie and the rest of the Australians will say well done to the man in the pink jersey. Been a great day then, with Perez winning the stage and Cadel Evans taking over the pink jersey for Australia and Mappe. Well, a good look back down into Kovara in Badia, where the race finished today and where they will be setting off then tomorrow. But it's been a tremendous day's racing, and tomorrow it's also going to be rather nasty, by the way. It doesn't have to go up and down on the stage tomorrow, from Kovara to Folgari, and it goes up and down. In fact, we're going to finish up at altitude again tomorrow. The finish is another long climb out to 12 kilometres straight up to the top, 1,614 metres above sea level. The battle rage on tomorrow. A couple of small climbs to begin with, and it runs all the way down, and really the last 42 kilometres we could see a replica of what we've seen today. Can Evans recover in time? I don't know really if he'll make it there to get back in sufficient form, but he's got Frigo so close, just 16 seconds. Hamilton at 18 seconds. We're going to have a cracking day's racing yet again tomorrow. We're bringing you that live on Eurosport as well, so wherever you watch it, on British Eurosport or Eurosport International, check your listings in your newspapers. But also you can see here, we'll be back tomorrow 15:30. That's for the international service. British Eurosport may be slightly different, but do check it. And I'm David Duffield. I'll be back with you, and I'm looking forward to a great day to see if the Aussie can hold on to that pink jersey, and also if Perez might get yet another stage. That's going to be fantastic.